All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling barbed wire.
Barbed wire.
Yep, barbed wire. Trust me, it's way more interesting than it sounds.
Okay, you've got my attention.
So, imagine the American West, like way back before fences.
Just wide open spaces.
Exactly. Cattle roaming free, no boundaries, no nothing.
Sounds kind of idyllic in a way.
It was, until this one invention came along and changed everything.
Barbed wire?
Bingo. And guy behind it, Joseph Glidden. The father of barbed wire, they call him.
Never heard of him. So what's so special about barbed wire anyway? It's just, well, wire with barbs.
Oh, but it's so much more than that. Glidden's invention sparked conflict, innovation, you name it. It's a whole story.
All right, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So Glidden, he wasn't your stereotypical inventor, like a lone wolf in a workshop.
Really? What was he like then?
He was a real community guy.
Wow.
Teacher, farmer, even a sheriff for a while.
Wow, quite the resume.
He did it all, first in New York and then out in Illinois. Always involved in local stuff, supporting the railroad and all.
Sounds like a real man of the people. So how does a community-minded farmer end up inventing barbed wire?
It all started at a county fair, believe it or not.
A county fair?
The DeKalb County Fair, in 1873 to be exact. That's where Glidden saw this weird fence. It was made of wood with metal barbs sticking out.
Kind of rudimentary, I guess.
Totally. It was designed by another farmer, Henry Rose. But Glidden, he saw the potential, but also the problems.
Like what?
The wood was clunky and the barbs weren't that effective. He knew there had to be a better way.
So the wheels started turning.
And they really got going thanks to a surprising source, his wife's hairpins.
Hairpins? Seriously?
Yeah. His wife, Lucinda, later told the story about how he was messing around with hairpins trying to figure out the barbs.
That's pretty resourceful.
Right. He realized he could make these little sharp barbs out of coiled wire. No more bulky wood needed.
Smart. But I imagine keeping those wire barbs in place was tricky.
Exactly. That's where Glidden's ingenuity really shines. He twisted two strands of wire together, wrapping the barbs around one of them.
Ah, so that's the secret. Simple, but effective.
Totally. And that's how the winner was born, his patented barbed wire design.
Winner. I like it. Straightforward and confident.
And boy, did it win. Ranchers and farmers all over the West went crazy for it.
I bet it solved a major problem for them.
By 1880, Glidden's company was churning out a mind-boggling amount of barbed wire. 263,000 miles of it every year.
Wow. Enough to go around the earth 10 times.
You got it. Barbed wire was taking over the West, but not everyone was thrilled about it, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. Not everyone wanted fences on their land.
Especially in Texas. Those ranchers, they loved their open range, their cattle roaming free.
Convincing them to fence things in must have been a challenge.
Oh, it was a huge hurdle for Glidden. But he had a plan.
So how did he win over those Texas ranchers? They sound pretty stubborn.
Well, he went big. Think Texas sized big?
Oh, what'd he do?
He created this massive ranch called the Frying Pan Ranch. Thousands of acres, all fenced in with, you guessed it, barbed wire.
That's one way to make a statement.
It was a bold move. Glidden basically said, look, this is how barbed wire can work for you.
A living, breathing advertisement.
Precisely. And it worked. The Frying Pan Ranch became this model of efficiency, showing how barbed wire could manage grazing, control herds, even prevent cattle rustling.
Smart. But even with success like that, barbed wire must have had some downsides, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. There were some serious unintended consequences.
Like what?
Well, think about the Native Americans. They were used to open land, following traditional ways of life.
And barbed wire put a stop to that.
It did. It restricted their movement, disrupted their hunting grounds, their whole way of life.
That's a pretty heavy impact, a real clash of cultures.
Exactly. And it wasn't just Native Americans. Homesteaders, those folks trying to settle and farm the land, they were affected too.
Oh, so?
Well, with all this land getting fenced off, access to resources became a problem. Water, grazing land, it was all harder to get to.
So barbed wire created all these new conflicts over land and resources?
It did. It's a classic example of how an invention can have both good and bad effects.
Yeah.
Progress isn't always a straight line,
Yeah, there's always a trade-off.
But back to Glidden. All this fencing frenzy, it must have made him a rich man, right?
You bet. But the story doesn't end there. Remember Henry Rose, the guy with the wooden barbed fence?
Oh, yeah, the inspiration for it all.
Well, he wasn't too happy with Glidden's success. He claimed Glidden stole his idea.
Ah, so the plot thickens. A good old-fashioned patent war.
You got it. And it got messy. Lawsuits, accusations flying back and forth.
Sounds juicy. What were they arguing about specifically?
Basically, who invented barbed wire? Or at least who deserved the patent for the most successful design?
It was a battle over bragging rights and, of course, a ton of money.
Exactly. Rose, he even published this pamphlet calling out Glidden and his partners, called them barbed wire pirates, if you can believe it.
Wow. That's harsh. What did Glidden have to say for himself?
Well, Glidden and his business partners fought back. They published their own booklet in 1876, laying out their side of the story.
A real war of words.
It was, and this battle went on for years and years, 18 years to be exact.
A long time to fight over a fence. So
Right.
how did it all end? Who won?
Well, it all came down to the Supreme Court. In 1892, they finally made a decision.
Drum roll, please. And the winner is...
Glidden. The court sided with him mainly because his patent application was super detailed and his winner design was just that, a winner.
So Glidden got the last laugh.
He did, but the story doesn't end there. What's really interesting is what happened next.
I'm all ears. What did Glidden do with all his fame and fortune?
Well, he didn't just sit back and count his money. He actually, he invested in his community.
Oh, that's cool. So he wasn't just a businessman then?
Nope, not at all. He put money into all sorts of things. A hotel, a newspaper, even a bank.
Wow. Sounds like he wanted to make a difference.
He did. And get this, he helped start Northern Illinois University. You know, really believed in education.
That's pretty amazing. So Glidden, he's got this legacy of invention, but also philanthropy.
Exactly. He understood that success, real success, it's about more than just money.
It's about giving back, making the world a better place.
Right. And that's a lesson we can all learn from, I think.
For sure. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from wide open ranges to fences that changed everything.
Barbed wire. Who knew it had such a story, huh?
It's a reminder that even the simplest things can have a huge impact. And that progress, well, it's not always a simple story.
Yeah, there's always more to this story, isn't there?
So to our listeners out there, I encourage you to take a look around, think about the everyday things in your life.
The things we take for granted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I bet you'll find that even a pencil, a light bulb, they've got fascinating stories behind them.
Hidden histories waiting to be discovered.
Yeah. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of barbed wire.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.